Hello, Facebook. This is Dr. Sharita Weatherspoon here with you live for another author interview with one of the phenomenal women that are a part of the Love Letters to My Girls 100 Black Women Speak to the Hearts of Black Women and Girls anthology, Miss Mia Bradford. She is a self care coach and the owner of Beyond the Busyness. She is going to share a little bit with us about her role in the project and why she decided to join up with us. So make sure you tune in. She's going to drop some good nuggets as well. You might actually, if you're a busy woman like most of us are, you might want to actually take advantage of her services. So tune in, see what you can learn, be inspired about what we're doing, and hopefully you'll become a part. So, Mia, thank you so much for being with me live tonight, but also for being a part of this project. I'm just so excited about the response that I've gotten and all of the powerhouse women who have stepped up to be a part of this. And you are one of those women.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Sharita. This is a pure honor and pleasure to be a part of this project. Um, I mean, when you presented it to me, the answer was yes. So, yes, it is. This is we need this for our girls. I actually just left a mentoring session before we jumped on, and at a high school, at one of our neediest high schools in my city, and I am hoping that I can bless my mentees with a copy of this book.
Hmm. That would be awesome, and that's one of our goals, to be able to get this book into the hands of as many Black women and girls as we can. And we'll be doing some crowdfunding to help cover the cost of doing that and making those donations, because we don't want the book to be out of reach for all of the women and girls who need this resource. So it's awesome that you're already thinking ahead about that. So, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do?
Absolutely. So, hello again, everyone. My name is Mia Bradford, and I am the founder of Beyond the Busyness. And as a self care coach, I help high achieving women go from busy to balanced by implementing simple self care strategies. However, I take a very holistic approach to self care. I am a licensed counselor, and I look at things in all different aspects. So I like to help women achieve a strong financial foundation, as well as be physically fit, emotionally, and mentally secure. So
Hmm.
that's a little bit about what I do.
Awesome, awesome. So, I said at the top of the interview that people women might want to take advantage of your services, because we know that self care, or the lack thereof, is a
Yes.
major issue among women in general, but
Mhm.
especially Black women, because we're taught to be, resilient and strong in spite of whatever else is going on in our lives, and to do for others,
Yes.
sometimes instead of doing for ourselves. So, definitely an important topic and important work. So, I applaud you for stepping up to the bat to do that work.
Thank you. Yes, I would have to agree. When I was doing my research to start Beyond the Busyness, it actually came from a place for me where I was, just having burnout like year after year from working because of the societal pressures, that Black women have to be the best, to not be vulnerable,
Hmm.
right? To not slow down and take care of our needs. And even though we're the most educated group in the United States, we're also the group that has the highest rate of mental health issues, the highest rate of single households, the highest rate of, or I should say, single parent households, the highest rate of, financial issues. And
Hmm.
this is all because we're not slowing down enough, first of all, to hear what our bodies need, and then to give our bodies and our minds what they need to be, to really thrive and be successful.
Hmm.
So that, I mean, it really came, just from me, like not slowing down to take care of myself, and then realizing like I was giving, giving, giving,
Hmm.
and it didn't have a return on investment.
Right. That's good. That's good. Return on investment. Because I do some work around living purposefully. And one of the things I do talk about is getting a return on investment in your time and in your relationships. We can talk about money as well, but let's not even
Right.
go there right now, but just in how you spend your time and the people that you give your time and energy and effort to. What is it giving back to you? And if it's not giving anything back to you, you might want to reevaluate.
Absolutely. That is critical.
Yes. So tell us, what was it about this project that stood out to you? There's a lot of anthologies and, you know,
Mhm.
um, the opportunity to be a part of a lot of different book projects. But what was it about the Love Letters anthology that moved you to take action and partner up with us?
Wow. That's a great question because there's multiple things. One, I really loved the fact that it was dedicated to young girls of color. I know that I had a really great conversation with my leadership coach around how, our parents' generation, for example, really didn't have the luxury to slow down
Mm-hmm.
and to be, right? Especially our mothers, they just gave everything that they had, which led to all sorts of things not being addressed. So if we can just stop and pause and help another young sister to realize that it's okay to be purposeful and intentional and take care of yourself, and then once you're full, you can give to others. I think we're going to make a huge change on the world and how we show up in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing was, like, in all transparency, I do not like writing.
Right.
But the way that you presented it, I'm a numbers girl, so that's why I have financial foundations, in my business.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the way that you presented it to us. You made it easy for us to write a letter that came from our heart, right? And to share our experiences. That's something I can do. If I can journal, I can write a letter about my experience and encourage another young lady to embrace who she is.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, I thought it was time to tell my story because I'm in therapy. I love therapy because I'm a counselor, and counselors need to be in therapy
Right.
too.
Yes.
And we have our own stuff, and then we take on other people's stuff.
Right.
And I realized that I am in an acceptance phase of who I am
Mm-hmm.
right now, and I'm in my late 30s.
Uh-huh.
And so, I notice a lot of millennials do a much better job at kind of embracing who they are earlier on. But, for a long time, because I'm an introvert and because I don't like going to parties and because, I am the way I am for whatever reason, this is how God made me. Because I wasn't like everybody else who was around me, I felt like, oh my gosh, like, do I need to be doing something more? Should I change who I am? Should I force myself to like it?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just like, nah, that's not authentic. And I just had to be okay with other people not being okay with the way I was.
That's
It's
good.
just like, eh,
Mm-hmm.
oh well.
That's good. That's real good. Now, I don't have a lot of interaction with millennials these days since I left higher ed. Um,
Hmm.
so I wasn't necessarily aware of the fact that they're okay with themselves a lot earlier than we have been. I'm in my late 40s. Now, I would say that you're ahead of the curve, being okay with who you are in your late 30s. That a lot of women in my generation are still kind of struggling with that because they've spent their lives fitting into these roles,
Yes,
mother,
yes,
wife, whatever the expectations are of you as a daughter, an employee, a business owner, a friend, and really silencing herself and sometimes forgetting, who she is and what she wants and, what her own desires and dreams are. And then you get this level of frustration that just builds up. And all of a sudden
yes,
it's like, and hold up. Like life is good, but I'm not fulfilled.
yes,
Something is
yes,
missing. And most of the time, that missing piece is me, who she is, because she's lost herself in all of these other roles and expectations that other people have placed on her. So I think it's something that a lot of women deal with and deal with like into their 50s and beyond sometimes, and it really shouldn't be that way. But because we haven't been willing to have these open and honest conversations, and
Mhm.
taught each other, how to say no, how to delegate, how to make other people's priorities their priorities and not your priorities, we
Amen.
you know we just continue this cycle. So I think the conversation is an important one, and addressing that in the book is just one small way but a powerful way, because we'll be able to touch thousands upon thousands of women with this message and hopefully be able to change their lives so they don't have to experience the delay that we have
Okay.
in being
Ooh.
okay with ourselves.
Oh my gosh, what you just said was beautiful, because I feel like our identity and who we are is wrapped up in what we do.
Hmm.
And like my mom is like the most selfless person, but at the same time, it breaks my heart because she will not sit down. Like,
Hmm.
I'm like, Mom, let me get my own food. Like, she'll like prepare everybody's plate. I'm like, no, 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 Mom, you sit
Right.
down. And I'm like, can I prepare your plate? She's like, no. And you know, I'm like, and I feel like, I don't know if it's the accolades people get from like being this selfless like martyr, but at the same time you're like killing yourself
Hmm.
and not even. It's like, yeah, I want to be a servant. Like, I mean, I serve at church every Sunday,
Hmm.
but at the same time, when I'm hitting that level of E, do I continue to push forward and then I, become sick or have a mental breakdown or whatever it is?
Right.
Or do I say, listen to my body and just slow down? And there's such a inner conflict for a
Hmm.
lot of women because they've gotten their, identity is wrapped up in being this particular way.
Right. Right. That's good. So, tell us a little bit about what your letter is going to be about.
Sure. So my letter is going to basically, I'm going to share a little bit about my testimony. As I spoke about earlier, I am going through an acceptance phase, and I am from the West Coast. I've lived on the East Coast for a long time, and it wasn't until I moved to the Gulf Coast, which is where I am now,
Hmm.
that I had some time to really connect with who I am. And I have a therapist who has been walking me through the acceptance phase. So, one thing I want to encourage the young ladies to do is to take time to be still and pause and really reflect on who they are.
Hmm.
That's huge right there, because a lot of times you're just going and being and doing and you're not being, and you're just caught up in this cycle. The other thing is just coming from a place of where I was mentally. A lot of people say like, oh, on the outside, like I appear to have it all together,
Hmm.
but really, for me, it's a coping mechanism because I wasn't allowed to express emotions growing up. I
Hmm.
wasn't allowed to be vulnerable. And as women, we're actually created as vulnerable beings. And and today the young ladies at the high school taught me so much that it's not safe to be vulnerable sometimes as a woman of color.
Hmm. Hmm.
And but vulnerability can really free you. And
Right.
so learning how to be vulnerable but safe at the same time, I think
Hmm.
that is a huge way to learn how to like accept yourself. Like, it's okay if you need to cry. Doesn't mean that you're weak. It just means that you need to release something. And so
Right.
really just reframing um, how we see who we are, and also what other people think about us is none of our business.
Right.
I'm just like,
Right.
there's always going to be somebody who doesn't like, the way that you show up in the world. But for
Mhm.
every one person who doesn't like you, I hope and pray that you have 10 others who are cheering you on and
Mhm.
celebrating who you are.
Right.
So getting that community around you, I'm still narrowing it down because I have a lot to say,
Hmm.
but I really think just having that time to be still, really connect with who you are, embracing it, and not letting peer pressure or family pressure or any type of pressure take you away from being authentic to yourself.
Mm. That's very powerful, Mia. And I think that acknowledgement that, it's not safe for us to be vulnerable as Black women. And that sums up so much beyond
Right?
just the self-care issue, just
Mhm.
finding places where there's emotional safety.
Yes.
And then we can talk about physical safety. But yeah, that statement all by itself is extremely powerful. So I don't see any questions at the moment. So what I'd like for you to do is to encourage any of our viewers who are watching live or watching the replay who feel like this project, this Love Letters to My Girls anthology, is resonating with them, and they are in agreement with the mission to inspire and motivate and encourage our sisters along their journey, and to remind them of how beautiful and powerful and valuable they are, but are feeling a little bit apprehensive because, maybe they're not authors, they're not writers, or they have, issues with being visible and being seen. Because even though we're writing here, this will bring some attention, right? Or
Mhm.
just whatever other, kind of mindset issues that might keep these women from raising their hand and becoming a part of the project. What would you say to them?
So my sisters, who are my shy sisters, my sisters that say, "Oh, my story is so tragic that I'm too embarrassed to let it out." There is actually healing in sharing your story. Um, we have many of us have gone through trauma, and we don't even know we have been through trauma. But the thing is, one, you sharing it again is healing for you, but also a lot of we go through what we go through because we're here to help somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really a part of our ministry and our calling here while we're on this earth to bring somebody else along behind us, right? Like no more crabs in the barrel, lift your own
Right.
self up by your bootstraps. Lend a helping hand. Like I learned this in NABA, the National Association of Black Accountants, lifting time. So as you are on your healing journey, reach back and help somebody else through sharing your story, through your words of encouragement. Like you
Mm-hmm.
just don't know whose life is going to change because you were courageous, because I know it takes courage,
Mm-hmm.
and you stepped outside of your comfort zone. We cannot be successful in our comfort zones. We have to get out there and step out on faith. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I would say.
Great. If I wasn't already a part, I would be signing up. But
Awesome.
yes, stepping out of our comfort zone. I say, everything you desire is on the other side of fear.
I
And
like it.
that is pretty much, what you're saying as well. So I know that you have a class to get to, so I don't want to hold you. So thank you for joining me on this mission to engage, empower, and elevate Black women and girls around the world, and for taking time out of your schedule to join me tonight for this interview. And to each of you who have tuned in or are watching the replay, thank you. Thank you for your support. Remember that in your words lies the power to heal, to uplift, and to inspire, and even to save another person's life. So ignite the power in your words. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.